A little piece of the Santa Clarita Valley will be on display this summer at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. Actually, three pieces.
Rancho Camulos Museum is going to be featured in an exhibit at the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian in Washington. And so they are borrowing three of our artifacts. And so the fine art shippers are here today packing them. Some of them are very fragile, so they're making sure that they're going to be safely transported to Washington. And then they will be on exhibit beginning June 28th of this year. The Smithsonian was interested in Rancho Camulos because it is a National Historic Landmark, and it helps to tell the story of Southern California. The name of the exhibit, I'll go back to that, is Many Voices, One Nation. So they're trying to tell the story of diversity and the fact that we've had many different types of people in the United States that have migrated to different places. And that's very true here at Rancho Camulos. The Del Valle family, who came here in the late 1850s to live here, they were actually given the property in 1839 as part of a Mexican land grant. But they moved their family here in the late 1850s from downtown Los Angeles, where they had been prominent Californio citizens in Los Angeles. And Ignacio Del Valle had actually been a mayor of Los Angeles. So they moved their family here. They were part of this migration and raised their children here at Rancho Camulos. And one of the reasons this became a National Historic Landmark is that the rancho appears much as it did during that rancho period in the 1800s. Also, it's the home of Ramona, which a lot of people know it as. Helen Hunt Jackson was an author who came here in the early 1880s and made this the setting for her famous book, Ramona. So that's another reason. So there's lots of historical ties to this property. And I think the reason that the Smithsonian chose to feature Rancho Camulos and these artifacts is it helps tell a story about the diverse kinds of people who were living in Southern California. And it tells about the religious life as well as the early residents, the Tataviam.
The artifacts include an altar ornament from the 1860s chapel, a memorial cross, and a stone mortar and pestle attributed to the Tataviam Indian village that predated Rancho Camulos.
The red heart, we call it the red sacred heart, it's an ornamental piece that was used in the Rancho Camulos chapel. It was probably made in the late 1800s, and the little chapel on the grounds was, that came about because Senora Del Valle wanted a place to worship. She was a very devout Catholic woman, and so the chapel was built in the late 1860s, and there were lots of decorative things in there. It may have had a candle behind it to light it, and it probably stood up on a little stand, and unfortunately we don't have that stand anymore. There was some vandalism that happened in the chapel after the 1994 earthquake that hit this area pretty hard. But fortunately the glass heart was not broken or taken. So it was probably just one of the many decorative pieces that were in the chapel. And there are lots of things in there that are still in there. The mortar and pestle is a Tataviam Indian piece. And the Tataviams were the first people who lived here at Camulos. And they actually did a lot of the work here. So they actually helped build the main adobe and the other structures here at Camulos. They were farm workers. They helped with a lot of things. So it's good that they're being represented in this exhibit as well. And the mortar and pestle, we don't know a lot about it, but don't know how old it is. And maybe the Smithsonian will be able to tell us that. It's similar to what Mexican families use to make tortillas. You know, they grind the corn, and so it would have been, or acorns, something like that. And we're very excited at Rancho Camulos because we're going to start telling more about the Tataviam story. We're going to have a Native American Tataviam interpretive village on the site, and that will be built sometime in 2017. The cross, another religious artifact, was actually used in the chapel garden, and it's quite old. It was probably from the mid to 1850s or so, something like that. We don't have an exact date. And we now have a replica of that cross in the garden. And so the Smithsonian asked to borrow that as well to talk about religious life here at the Rancho. So that was the original cross, and fortunately, that had been stored away.
Frozen in time, Rancho Camulos hasn't really changed all that much since it was part of an 1839 Mexican land grant that once included the entire western half of the Santa Clarita Valley.
The reason this appealed to us, I mean, it was certainly an honor to be contacted by the Smithsonian and to be included in this incredible exhibit, but we're kind of in the sticks here in this little museum. We're kind of out of the way on Highway 126, and we get a fair number of visitors who come through, but the opportunity to be in the National Museum of American History, where they have thousands of people coming through almost every day, and to be seen by a much broader audience who can learn more about our history, Southern California history, Rancho history, and maybe they'll be intrigued to actually come out here and see it for themselves. So it's a wonderful opportunity. So we're really excited about this partnership.